On tonight's edition of News Center, the South Korean government has detected signs of preparations by North Korea to fire a long-range rocket. Seoul will shoot down any rocket parts flying over South Korean territory. And Seoul, Washington, Tokyo will discuss collective measures tomorrow. Message delivered, outcome unknown is what China's chief nuclear envoy Dawei told reporters upon return from his trip to North Korea. No other details specified. And after months of deadlock, Korea's National Assembly has agreed on a number of bills, including the long-discussed One-Shot Act. We'll have the details. It's Thursday, February 4th, 2016. Good evening to our viewers in Korea. Hello to those around the world, and this is News Center. President Park has once again condemned North Korea for its planned long-range rocket launch, calling for stronger sanctions against Pyongyang. The planned launch is viewed by the international community as a cover for a ballistic missile test and follows the regime's fourth nuclear test last month. Our Song Ji-sun has a wrap-up of this statement out of Seoul's presidential office today.
President Park has stepped up the pressure on North Korea to urge the regime to give up its planned rocket launch. In a statement delivered via her senior press secretary on Thursday, the president condemned the regime and called for stronger sanctions against Pyongyang.
North Korea's announcement of a long-range rocket launch following its latest nuclear test is a serious threat to peace on the Korean peninsula and in the world. Planning another provocation while additional UN sanctions are being discussed means that Pyongyang is not afraid of sanctions and shows that it is only focused on maintaining the current regime without any desire to establish peace on the Korean peninsula.
The statement follows another one made Wednesday after a National Security Council meeting where the South urged the North to scrap the launch plan. North Korea on Tuesday announced it would launch an Earth observation satellite atop a rocket sometime over the next 3 weeks. The launch is seen by South Korea and its allies as a cover for a test of an intercontinental ballistic missile, and that would be a violation of UN resolutions barring the North from developing ballistic missile technologies. President Park also called for closer cooperation with the international community for stronger UN sanctions on North Korea, saying that it's the only way to convince Pyongyang that it would not be able to survive unless it gives its nuclear ambitions. Song Ji-sun, Arirang News.
South Korea's defense ministry earlier today announced that it has detected movements at North Korea's main missile launch site, which could be seen as launch preparations. Now, earlier this week, North Korea informed international organizations that it has plans to launch an observation satellite aboard a rocket sometime this month. South Korea, the U.S., and others think, as we mentioned, this is a cover for a banned test of a missile that could reach far enough to strike the U.S. mainland. Our national defense correspondent Kim Hyun-bin is live in the studio with me. Now, Hyun-bin, so there are signs now that there's a rocket launch that's going to happen at North Korea's launch site.
That's right. Well, good evening, Kan-young. Earlier today, North Korea monitoring website 38 North released some satellite imagery indicating that could be a possible early launch preparations from the north. Now, the website stated earlier Thursday that more vehicles have been seen around the Dongcheon launch site, especially at the horizontal processing building, where the various stages of rockets are received. Now, soon after the report, South Korea's defense ministry confirmed there have been signs of long-range missile launch preparations at the site, and that is keeping a close eye on any unusual activities.
And Washington are working in close cooperation to detect any missile launch activity. And if Pyongyang launches a rocket, we are fully prepared to not only detect it, but also track down its trajectory.
The South Korean military has boosted surveillance capabilities by mobilizing an additional Aegis destroyer, which is capable of detecting missiles from 1,000 kilometers away. And it has also deployed the Green Pine ground radar, as well as airborne surveillance equipment that includes peace-flight planes. Now, meanwhile, South Korea's Navy conducted a large-scale drill on the West Sea, including anti-submarine, anti-mine operations, and live firing drills, sending a strong message to North Korea that is ready to counter any provocations or threats from the regime.
Right, Hyun-bin, what Seoul has also said that it will shoot down any kinds of rocket parts or fragments flying over South Korean territory.
Oh, well, that's right. The ministry added that it will intercept the rocket if it flies through South Korean territory using its PAC-2 Patriot missiles. But experts say there's a slim chance of that happening as the PAC-2 for the PAC-2 to intercept the ICBM, but it can be used to shoot down fallen debris.
The chances of intercepting a rising ballistic missile are slim, but it is possible to target the falling debris to reduce civilian damage.
The PAC-2 has an interception altitude of 20 kilometers, and chances of taking down a missile within that range were less than 30% when it was initially introduced. Now, the PAC-2 was proven effective during the Gulf War in Iraq in 1990 and went through numerous enhancements over the years, and experts say it could take down missiles within its actual range.
Well, the time window, Hyun-bin, that North Korea gave, I guess, international organizations for its possible rocket launch is from February 8th to the 25th. The big question in the minds of many probably is, when exactly are we looking at? I mean, do we even have a rough idea of whenabouts that could be?
Well, experts are pointing to the fact that the birthday of Kim Jong-il, the previous North Korean leader, and the father of the current leader, Kim Jong-un, is just coming up on February 16th. So the missile could be launched as a celebratory message. Now, many experts say that there's a high possibility that the launch could take place between the Lunar New Year holiday and Kim Jong-un's birthday.
Including the installation and fueling, it takes about a week to launch a long-distance missile. The most probable date could be after the Lunar New Year holiday and before Kim Jong-il's birthday.
Now, other experts believe that North Korea could launch its missile after the UN resolution is adopted. Now, adoption is expected to take place soon after the Lunar New Year holiday next week. Now, also, there's a vice ministerial level talks will be held between South Korea, the U.S., and Japan to share information regarding North Korea's upcoming missile launch. And the talks will be held through video conference on Friday morning.
Tomorrow morning. Right, most likely, and come up with a collective measure to counter or against this rocket launch by North Korea. And global attention now back on the Korean peninsula. Well, thank you, Hyun-bin, for that thorough coverage and for coming in tonight.
Anytime.
China's top nuclear envoy Wu Dawei has returned home from his surprise visit to North Korea. What did he do in the reclusive state? What message did he deliver? Did he discuss Pyongyang's planned rocket launch? All eyes were on what he had to say, but much to the dismay, he did not say much. What does that imply? What does that mean? More questions than answers. Our foreign affairs correspondent Kwon So-ah reports.
China's top man in charge of Korean affairs and nuclear matters, Wu Dawei, returned from his 3-day trip to North Korea on Thursday, but without clear results. Following his arrival, China's foreign ministry said Wu held talks with his North Korean counterpart Lee Yong-ho, Pyongyang's foreign minister Lee Soo-yong, and deputy foreign minister Kim Gae-kwan. All the ministry spokesperson could reveal on details of their discussion was:
There were two aspects. One was bilateral relations between China and North Korea, including all kinds of issues in China and North Korean relations. The second also was, of course, things related to the current situation on the Korean peninsula.
Seoul's Foreign Affairs Ministry did not comment on what could have been discussed, but said it's in talks with Beijing.
I emphasize that North Korea and China are closely communicating on the result of Wu Dawei's North Korea trip.
The Chinese representative for the six-party nuclear talks embarked on the surprise trip on Tuesday amid international discussions on how to deal with North Korea for its latest nuclear test, as well as its potential rocket launch planned for later this month. The degree of sanctions are thought to have been part of discussions, but some say stopping Pyongyang from its satellite launch, what many may have been hoping for, was not Wu Dawei's priority.
The North's public announcement of its launch shows a resolute drive, behind which there's the decision of its leader Kim Jong-un himself. Given Wu Dawei's status, it wouldn't have been easy for him to execute any pressure on North Korea.
Wu told reporters upon arrival in Beijing that he said what must be said, did what must be done, but at the same time does not know what the outcome will be. Experts speculate that this could mean the Chinese diplomat returned home empty-handed. Kwon So-ah, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, in North Korea, leader Kim Jong-un orders absolute obedience to the military, presiding over a meeting of that regime's Workers' Party committee. Experts' take on that is that he appears to be trying to cement his power and tighten his grip over the ruling Workers' Party ahead of its Congress in the spring. Lee Ji-won has the details.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un commanded the people to show absolute obedience to the military at a meeting of the Workers' Party Central Committee and the Central Military Commission this week. The North state-run Korean Central News Agency reported that Kim ordered the establishment of a united military force and called on his generals and officers to march in one direction, a direction he himself leads. Kim also said the only way to score an ultimate victory in the long battle against the U.S. is to unite the state under the ideology of his father and grandfather through his leadership. The KCNA report added the meeting has further strengthened the ruling Workers' Party ahead of an upcoming party congress this spring.
The meeting was convened to prepare for the party's upcoming Congress. Kim wanted to ensure the military is ready for it and for the military to become the perfect role model of socialism to strengthen the ideology in the society.
The meeting, scheduled for May, is the first of its kind in more than 3 decades and the 7th overall. During the historic event, Kim is expected to unveil new policies to strengthen his grip on the military. Lee Ji-won, Arirang News.
In Korea's parliament, lawmakers passed dozens of bills today, including one to revitalize corporate businesses. As for the bill on remapping Korea's electoral districts, the speaker has given the lawmakers a firm deadline to pass that bill. Just a little over 2 months remain until this country heads to the polls for the general elections. Our senior parliamentary correspondent Kim Young-gil files this report.
With just over 2 months left before the April 13th general election, National Assembly Speaker Chung Eui has set a deadline for a bill on redrawing Korea's electoral map. The main opposition Minju Party, which has been pushing for the bill, welcomed the decision.
The Speaker has promised to send the electoral map bill to the National Election Commission on February 12th no matter what. Therefore, the bill will definitely get passed by the end of the month.
After the election watchdog reviews the plan, Chung will introduce the bill on February 19th for lawmakers to vote on. The rival parties agree on increasing the number of electoral districts from 246 to 253. But the bill had been stalled because of disagreements over the number of proportional representatives. The ruling party had wanted to reduce the number to 47 from 54, while the opposition didn't want any change. On Thursday, the opposition capitulated, allowing the bill to move forward. However, the ruling Saenuri Party, in a reversal of its previous position, now wants to tie the electoral map bill to other bills on the economy and labor reform.
We again urge the Minju Party to stop focusing only on the electoral map. What's more urgent is passing these important livelihood bills. We must pass them all at once as soon as possible.
Amid the ongoing negotiations on Thursday, lawmakers voted to pass 40 bills, including the Oneshot Act, designed to reduce legal restrictions on corporations and provide tax cuts for companies that want to sell an affiliate or buy another company. Lawmakers still have a slew of other bills to vote on before the current extraordinary session ends on Monday, including one on North Korea's human rights and another that would strengthen South Korea's counterterrorism initiatives. Kim Young-gil, Arirang News.
So what exactly is this one-shot bill? What are the specifics of this act aimed at revitalizing the economy? How will this change the way corporations do business right here in Korea? Well, let's take a closer look. Here's Paul Park.
The Corporate Revitalization Bill, dubbed One-Shot Bill, was passed at a plenary session on Thursday. The bill mainly aims to revitalize corporate activities by providing restructuring support to insolvent companies. Among 223 lawmakers in attendance, the bill was passed with 174 votes in consent, while 24 lawmakers were against and 25 abstained. The corporate bill was first proposed by the ruling Saenuri Party in July last year as part of efforts to boost the country's sluggish economy. However, the bill had been left pending for months as the nation's main rival parties failed to reach an agreement. The passage of the bill is expected to especially support local steel makers, shipbuilders, and chemical manufacturers, which have been struggling over slowing exports due to the sluggish economy and an increasing competition with China. When the bill takes effect, it will shorten the merger review process by alleviating restrictions and provide tax incentive cuts to boost corporate restructuring. Paul Park, Arirang News.
Korea has no plans to create another budget supplement, at least for now, says Seoul's Finance Minister Yoo Il-ho. The comments come on the heels of the government's announcement of a fresh stimulus in efforts to boost the economy hit by slumping exports. Our Hwang Ji-hye reports.
Now is not the time for another budget supplement. That's what Korea's top economic policymaker said Thursday, adding extra money should only be poured into the economy if absolutely necessary. Since he took office last month, Finance Minister Yoo Il-ho has been emphasizing a focus on structural reforms and job creation, making it unlikely that the government will inject more money anytime soon. Last year, the economic team led by Jong-un laid out an aggressive set of stimulus measures to the tune of roughly $18 billion, which also included a budget supplement. Although the country has seen its exports plunge for more than a year, experts' analysis has also lent weight to Yu's comments.
If the Zika virus takes a toll on the local economy, or if any other uncertainty like the MERS outbreak emerges and puts a dent in domestic demand, then the government should pump in extra money. But that should be the last resort used in emergency situations.
The new economic team did, however, roll out fresh stimulus measures to shore up the recovery momentum. The government expanded the amount that it promised to front-load in the first quarter of this year, bringing the total fiscal spending increase during the period to more than $17 billion. Markets are also expecting the country's central bank to make a move to ensure the price competitiveness of local exporters amid weak global demand. Analysts say a rate cut could come sometime during the first quarter. Hwang Ji-hye, Arirang News.
Speaking of slowing exports, Korea's newly appointed trade minister met with heads of the nation's top 30 conglomerates today in efforts to come up with ways to tackle just that. Well, it was the first such meeting in 3 years. There, the government and the business circle agreed to work hand in hand to boost investment and really find a solution. Our Kim Min-ji reports.
Korea's trade minister urged business leaders to step up investment to revive the country's slowing exports. Speaking during a meeting with the heads of Korea's top 30 conglomerates, Minister Ju Hyung-hwan noted how exports fell sharply in January, with outbound shipments tumbling 18.5%, the largest drop in more than 6 years. He stressed the importance of team play between the government and the business sector, saying deregulation efforts will be boosted as Korea needs to strengthen its key industries and diversify its industrial portfolio into high-value sectors.
The government will lift regulations or fix systems that hinder investment or business activity, so that efforts from the private sector can kick in quickly.
Business leaders in particular discussed some of the main hurdles they face when it comes to get involved in new technology sectors, such as the Internet of Things. The trade minister vowed to provide swift answers to corporate proposals and work to provide support, whether it be systematic or financial. While it's welcoming news that both the government and the business sector are willing to cooperate, experts say words must now turn into action.
There are things the government must do and things corporations must do. Corporations need to make high-quality products through consistent R&D to make way into new markets and boost exports, while the government needs to be able to support what they do, whether it is regarding procedures or the law.
The expert added that corporations need to have in mind how to revive their own competitiveness and work to continuously foster new growth engines. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
Well, most of us know how exhausting and stressful a long layover at an airport could be. But worry no more, says Korea's Incheon International Airport, as those stopping over at Incheon International at least will now get to enjoy the renewed Traditional Culture Experience Center. Our Kim Ji-yeon reports it's where tradition and technology come together.
Around 100 people, including the Minister of Culture, Sports and Tourism and the President of the Korea Cultural Heritage Foundation, gathered at Incheon International Airport to participate in the reopening ceremony of the Korea Traditional Culture Experience Center on Thursday. The center was built to promote Korean culture and offers foreign visitors a glimpse of traditional Korean handicrafts and music free of charge. The center is hard to miss, located on the third floor of the airport's passenger terminal's duty-free area. I asked this young man who was decorating a hand mirror by arranging crushed bits of pearl with a toothpick what his opinion of the center was.
This is a beautiful experience to be able to do this, especially for people like me who was stuck in the airport for 4 hours. You know, I was going to have to read or whatever. But now I can do this incredible thing. So I'm really pleased that I could be able to do this.
It took nearly a year to renovate the center because of its intricate interior design, which is shaped like a traditional fan. The ministry inaugurated the center at the airport back in 2009 and has gone through renovations so that it could better reflect the government's initiative of cultural convergence that utilizes IT devices to promote Korean culture.
By using the center's tablets, visitors can virtually experience Korean culture. For example, they can check out how they'll look if they were to wear traditional hanbok attires. I project around 1 million people will visit the new center this year, more than last year's 730,000 visitors.
15 years after opening its doors, Incheon International Airport has been recognized as one of the finest in the world for its outstanding facilities and services provided. It's also the world's second largest airport in terms of air cargo. Kim Ji-yeon, Arirang News, Incheon.
The future of WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange is unclear as a UN panel determines if he has been detained unlawfully. Now, Bruce Harrison is live in the studio with me. Bruce, is Assange going to emerge from asylum shortly?
I'm sure he hopes that, but it's hard to say right now. The BBC, on one hand, is reporting that this panel will rule in favor of Assange, but the panel itself hasn't made that announcement. And a positive decision for Assange may even not signal the end of his troubles anyway.
Right, so what exactly is the panel investigating and what would the outcome mean for Assange?
Sure, well, a decision in favor of Assange could potentially mean the end of his lengthy stay in the Ecuadorian embassy. He's been holed up there for about 4 years now, trying to avoid extradition charges to Sweden over accusations of rape, which he's denied many times. The New York Times reports that the UN's Working Group on Arbitrary Detention is hearing a petition from Assange in which he claims the years he spent in the embassy amount to illegal imprisonment. According to the Times, the group's findings often carry symbolic weight but are not binding under international law. And therein lies the problem. Sweden may not recognize the decision. Assange first made headlines in 2010 when WikiLeaks published a classified U.S. military video showing Apache helicopters killing people in Baghdad. He's afraid Sweden could extradite him to the U.S. to face trial for releasing that video and other sensitive documents. On Wednesday, the Ecuadorian foreign minister expressed concerns over Assange's health, though his health doesn't appear to be a factor in this case.
The doctor attending him could not complete his diagnosis, only through clinical means. She needed to do a more thorough examination.
But he's unable to leave the embassy right now for something like that, Patino said, because the British government would arrest him. The UK maintains Assange is avoiding arrest by hiding in the embassy, and it's obliged to extradite him. Peace talks trying to end the violence in Syria have been temporarily halted over a lack of progress. UN Special Envoy for Syria, Staffan de Mistura, says the talks will resume on February 25th. Ongoing fighting and airstrikes have complicated efforts to bring opposition leaders to the table.
It is deeply disturbing that the initial steps of the talks have been undermined by the continuous lack of sufficient humanitarian access and by a sudden increase of aerial bombings and military activities within Syria.
Meanwhile, world leaders are arriving at a donor conference in London to raise money for the crisis in Syria. German Chancellor Angela Merkel is attending. Germany's pledged to give 2.3 billion euros to aid in Syria by 2018.
Now, in other news, Apple has lost again and lost a lot of money this time to an infamous patent troll, right? Apple now has to pay company Vernet X, is it, more than $625 million for patent infringement.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. According to TechCrunch magazine, that's basically how this company makes its money, Kanyang. TechCrunch explained Vernet X is called a patent troll because it makes almost all of its revenue from patent licensing and lawsuits, having sued a number of tech companies over the past 10 years. In this case, a U.S. court judge declared Apple infringed on patents used in its iMessage and FaceTime services.
Right, and really this company, Vernet X, they don't discriminate against companies when it comes to trolling. It sued and won against Microsoft as well.
They go after a lot of companies. In 2014, the settlement with Microsoft was about $24 million. A few years before that, they settled with Microsoft for $200 million. So large sums.
Right, right. And these patent trolling, it's really a problem that needs to be addressed by the global community together as these multinational companies get hit by or get sued and ripped off of money for patent trolls.
It's happening all the time.
Right. Well, we'll have to wait and see what can be done on that front. Thank you, Bruce, for that, and we'll see you tomorrow.
My pleasure.
Now today, as we told you yesterday, is known as Incheon, or the day marking the beginning of spring here in Korea. And it really truly lived to its name as temperatures were mild, very mild here in Seoul. Let's go over to our Lee Ji-hyun at the Weather Center for more updates. Ji-hyun.
Hello, Kanyang. Yes, temperatures did go up today, but stagnant air in the upper parts of the inland regions increased levels of dust, while the Jeollado provinces and Jeju Island were affected by fine dust from China. But the capital had normal air quality throughout the day today.
Right, but how are things looking for tomorrow? Because tomorrow is essentially, I think we could say, the beginning of this super long Lunar New Year holiday.
Right, so I do have weather and traffic coming up shortly, but for the dust-wise, we're going to have normal air quality throughout the day tomorrow for the whole nation, with strong winds sweeping away the dust. But temperature-wise, it's going to be slightly cooler than yesterday, especially in the morning, as the daily low here in Seoul will start out at -6 degrees Celsius. Daejeon will also kick off at -6 and -3 for Daegu, and Busan and Jeju will start out the day at 0 and 3 degrees Celsius. And as for the daily highs, it's going to be slightly cooler than today, but due to that strong winds, it could feel chillier than the actual temperatures, with a high peaking to 3 here in Seoul, 4 for Daejeon, 5 over in Daegu, and Busan and Jeju Island will see a high of 7 degrees Celsius tomorrow afternoon. And cold mornings will continue through the weekend before milder conditions dominate through the Lunar New Year holiday, and notice how warm it's gonna be next Wednesday. But again, tomorrow we're going to wake up to a chilly morning, so be sure to dress warmly. And we do have rain in the forecast next Monday. And traffic-wise, heavy traffic is expected over the next few days, as about 36 million people will hit the roads during the holiday, and these are the estimated travel times. This as Sunday should be the most congested with cars heading out of the capital, and the actual day of the Lunar New Year falling on Monday will be jam-packed with vehicles coming back to the capital areas. And remember that the operating hours of buses and subways in Seoul will be extended on Monday and the next days, as subways and buses will run until 2 a.m. Now that's Korea for you, and here's a look at the weather conditions around the world.
Well, perhaps it's this fast-moving digital world that we live in that we get to appreciate more of the value of the analog of things. That is a broadcast on this Thursday night. I'm Moon Gan-young. Thank you everyone for watching, and we hope to see you right back here, same time tomorrow on NewsCenter.